Lead us in a short word of prayer. Can everyone stand, please?
Let's bow our heads as we speak to God. Loving Father, we want to thank you today in the name of Jesus for this privilege where we could come and demonstrate our learning. As we do so, we invite the Spirit into our midst that you may come within us. We pray, Lord, that this presentation may be a success. In Jesus' name.
Thank you. Now, each year, students in the Computer Network Engineering program at ABIIT go through this journey of 12 weeks preparing for this day. A lot of anxious moments, a lot of apprehension, I don't know if I can do this. But for us in the Computer Network Engineering department, it's a kind of a rites of passage, in a sense, of where we turn our students from IT children to IT adults. Right? And this day gives the students the opportunity to present the knowledge they have gained through the years here at ABIIT. Not all the knowledge, but knowledge associated with a specific topic. So what you're going to see today, we have 4 groups of students who will be presenting topics which were basically supervised by myself. My name is Barry Warren and I'm the department chair of the Computer Network Engineering and Computer Science department here at ABIIT. And this is our 8th year with this capstone presentation. And it's kind of a unique program here at ABIIT also. This is the only class at ABIIT where students have to present not only in front of their peers, but in front of family and friends, and also take questions from the audience about their presentations. Later as we go on, you're going to find a lot of former students who have graduated from the program come back for payback. Payback for what? For the hard time they got from other students when they were doing their presentations. So the current students get a little worried that there may be questions they may not be able to answer, or very challenging questions, so they get really, really nervous. But I said to them, as long as you prepare properly, you'll be able to overcome whatever is sent your way. The program has been highly successful. Throughout every major company in Antigua, we have graduates from this program. And graduates who have gone on to 4-year and graduate level studies and have done exceedingly well. So it's a very successful program, and the program has contributed well to the human development in Antigua and Barbuda. We're really proud of that. And the students always come back and say thank you, right, for the training and experience that they received through their program here at ABIIT. So I'm not going to take too much more time talking about the program and the students and how well we have done in the past. So we're going to get directly into their presentations. Now the first presentation will be done by Group A, which comprises Michael, Shaquille, and Loretta. And these 3 people will be presenting a project on Windows Active Directory. This might be a little foreign to some people who have IT background may not fully understand what it is. But basically, it's the technology behind what most people use daily in a corporate or an enterprise environment to basically log on to computers and to use printers and to use files and different things like that. All right? So without any further ado, we're going to bring Group A onto the platform to begin their presentation for Capstone 2015. Group A.
Good afternoon to one and all again. And my name is Michael Charles again, and my colleague Shaquille Lynch do it daily. Now, like Mr. Warren just said, we'll be discussing Active Directory. Yes, like Mr. Warren said, we'll be discussing Windows Active Directory. And our project basically, we designed it for a bank called Antigua Barbuda and British Caribbean Bank. And our slogan, I should say, bring financial dreams to life. All right, just a little introduction or brief history of the bank. The bank basically is a financial institution that offers small loans, credit cards, transaction, treasury sales and trading, investment banking, etc. Now, the bank basically has 5 different locations across the Caribbean, and there are branches in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Barbados, Dominica, and Antigua. Now, basically, when the institution first started, it started with a total of 35 employees, and to date, it has a total of 2,000 employees across the 5 different locations. All right, so this is the presentation, the scope that we'll be covering. And I'm responsible for the Active Directory drawing, and the first one, Active Directory drawing, showing the domain sites we use, the topology drawing with the IP, and domain names. I'm responsible for the domain names, making up the domain names, and the domains. The domain names and the DNS servers, exactly. All right, just a little meaning of the Active Directory. Active Directory basically is a server role in Windows Active Directory that allows admins to manage and store information and application data in a distributed database. And Active Directory basically provides like a secure structure, hierarchical structure for data, objects in a network such as users, computers, etc. Basically resources. A domain. Like for some people that are not that IT savvy, or people that are not really sure what a domain actually is, as you can see, domain basically is a logical group of network objects, like computers, users, and device that share all the same data directory database of it. And a tree also, which is part of the whole domain structure, that basically is a collection of one or more domains, right? Domain trees in a contiguous namespace, basically. And we have the forest, basically, where all the trees is in the domain. All right, this is what our Active Directory organization unit design looks like. And I know it's kind of small, if you want to zoom in. Okay, so at the top we have the main domain name, which is ABIIT.local, and we have our domain structures, we have our alias, we have our Active Directory DHCP server, DHCP, print server, And we have our policies that basically also is implemented in the Active Directory design. We also have OUs based on locations. And what we're going to try to accomplish by this is basically persons that are, for example, in Barbados or Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, they can steer from any location and still access files that are based in Antigua. And it goes vice versa. Persons, whether you're, whichever location you are, once you're part of the corporate network or corporate enterprise, you can still be able to access files wherever you want to access files from. And the next slide show you basically the more zoom in of the branch domain structure. And this is standard, and we have this for all of the, we have this design for basically all of the branches, the same design basically, like it's a standard. And we have our general banking OUs, basically the customers, the cash OU, the clearance OU, and the accounting OU basically. This is to be separated by departments. We have the IT department, the HR, the loans and advances department, and the department that's also responsible for foreign exchanges. Okay, in terms of our domain name solution, we've actually implemented 2 DNS servers at each location and 2 domain controllers, basically. Now, the name of the DNS servers that we're going to have, for example, is for Dominica, we're going to have DOMS01, or like I said, 2, but the X is just there as a variable. And we have the domain names. See, for Dominica, as I said, we had dom.abb.local. And so this will basically still be able to communicate to the corporate network. So, like I said, we have 10 basic DNS servers at different locations. 2 at each location, same as the domain controllers, and basically that is there for redundancy. In terms of communication, how will the different branches be communicating with each other? Now, we'll be using VPN, what we call virtual private network, and this is better. We choose this way because it's a secure one and it's less expensive on our behalf, basically, to implement. Now, the protocol that we'll be using to connect all the branches, since we're not using direct connection, will be IPsec, as IPsec is a secure protocol that we use nowadays to encrypt data basically across the network. Also, network design, which I'll be showing you in the next slide. We're going to cover slides from now. Our network design basically is a mesh network. And we did this also for redundancy, as it's better to get it done that way. Or IP addressing. For the number of employees that we have, we'll have, for example, Antigua have 1,000 employees, and basically we had a IP address worked out. We're using a /22 network, which will be able to accommodate 1,000+ employees, just in case for expansion. Dominica also, we have a set IP address to accommodate the 500, likewise Barbados, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic. So this is what our mesh network design looks like. So just in case, say for example, this link goes down, we'll still be able to get access to the main headquarters via Dominica or Dominican Republic. All right, to discuss how the DNS servers, locations, etc., the replication aspect, operation master roles, and global catalog placement, I'll hand over to my colleague, Shaki Lynch.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, as Michael just explained, that I'll be doing active directory replication topology, operation master roles assigned to servers, and global catalog server placement. So, right now I'll be explaining active directory replication topology. So, what is active directory replication? It's changes of directory data of the objects transferred between domain controllers in a site or between sites. The purpose of active directory replication is to ensure that all domain controllers have accurate update of active directory data. So, for example, if new objects are added to active directory on this domain controller is responsible to replicate these changes onto the other domain controller in that site. Right. Well, what is a site? A site is a set of well-connected subnet or networks. Right. As you see here, we have 5 sites. This is a simple diagram explaining how web replication works. A topology of intra and inter-site replication. So, what is inter-site replication? Intra-site replication. It's changes replicated to each domain controllers inside the site. How inter-site replication works? LAN network speed that allows changes to happen quickly as possible through these domain controllers. Next, I'll explain inter-site. What is inter-site replication? It's changes replicated to each domain controller between the sites. So the comparison and contrast between intra and inter-site, the intra-site replication will replicate changes in a site, while inter-site replication will replicate changes in between sites. Right? So how inter-site replication works really? Let me explain on this slide. Between these two sites, that's Antigua and Puerto Rico, as my colleague has mentioned, a VPN link would be established. For a replication to take place, Active Directory will automatically choose the domain controller from each site and make them to be a bridgehead server. In my term, what a bridgehead server really is, it's a domain controller acts as a access or exit route to replicate changes or data moving into and out of sites. So, which domain controllers are bridgehead servers? Well, in Puerto Rico, we have the bridgehead server is domain controller 2, or in a short form, DC2, for web bankruptcy. And in Antigua, we have domain controller 2, or DC2, in a short form. How bridgehead server really works? Okay. As I said before in the previous slides, that if new objects are added to Active Directory on the domain controller, on this domain controller here, this domain controller is responsible to replicate these changes onto this domain controller, which is the bridgehead server, right? And when the bridgehead server gets these changes, it's responsible to replicate these changes onto the other bridgehead server onto another site, that is Antigua, right? And when this bridgehead server gets these changes, this bridgehead server is responsible to replicate these changes to the other domain controllers in that site. So, let's say if a bridgehead server is shut down, right? Well, Active Directory will automatically make another domain controller. Active Directory will make another domain controller to make it to be a bridgehead server. Also, Active Directory will let you pick Active Directory will manually make you pick a domain controller to make it to be a widget server. This is what you call a preferred widget server. So, but notice that if you select a domain controller to make it a widget server that is not available, well, no replication will be taking place, right, between sites. So for replication to take place, that widget server would be in place and online for replication to take place, right? Now I will be explaining diagram and details of placement of global catalog and operation master assigned to each service. Well, as you can see, we have 5 domains. This is called a multiple domain environment. Two domain controller in each domain. Well, let's speak about in the root domain. Well, on this domain controller, we did have 5 FSM roles, right? Schema master, domain master, infrastructure master, related ID master, PDC and also BDC emulator, right? But also, through we added a second domain controller in the root domain, we separated the 4 wide roles, that's the schema master and the domain name master on this domain controller. It will release a lot of tension on that domain controller, right? And leading this domain controller to have the domain wide roles, right? Also, through this domain controller is the first domain controller in the root domain. Yeah. Also, through this is the first domain controller in the root domain. This will automatically assign a global catalog. They need to be a global catalog server. Right. So onto the other domain controller. These 4 wide roles, that is the schema master and the domain name master, these affect the whole service. The root domain will more likely be the last removed if you change your domain namespace. So placing the 4 wide roles in the root space makes sense. Also, the domain name master would always contact global catalog server when added domains. So basically, that's why I have global catalog on this domain controller. So let's speak about the subdomains. Well, I'll only speak about one subdomain, and whatever I speak about in this subdomain will be listed for other subdomains as well. So I'll be putting this PDC emulator on this domain controller, where they have a lot of users. It's the final authority on password-based requests, and it makes sense to put it on the network where they have a lot of authentication requests on it. Also, I'll put the RID master role on the same domain controller with the PDC emulator. The PDC emulator generally uses RID than other domain controllers. Also, it allocates backup RIDs and don't really have to be on the fastest link or server. Also, the infrastructure master, I will put that on the same domain controller with the PDC emulator and the bit master. This is used to keep reference between different domains up to date, and if that domain controller has a global catalog, best to make all domain controllers on every domain a global catalog server. If not, problems can occur. When the infrastructure master will consult all global catalog to see if it's up to date, there will probably occur because global catalog is always up to date, right? So, best to make our global catalog on each domain controller so that new changes could replicate to each domain controller in between sites. So now I'll be sending this to Loretta Daly. She'll be discussing the solution below, user accounts and security groups, account policies and group policies.
Good afternoon. As my colleague mentioned, I'm Loretta Daly, and I'll be discussing user accounts and security groups, account policies, as well as group policies. One of my responsibilities would be creating and editing user groups with user accounts within the company. What I have here is a simple diagram just showing the allocation of staff members within the company. So if you notice, it's this general banking, foreign exchange, loans and advances, human resources, and the IT department within the 5 countries. Another one of my responsibilities would be developing an appropriate naming scheme which will support multiple users, which can have similar names and so on. So what I did was I separated it into 2 general groups. So for the IT department and administrators, which would be the smaller group, the naming scheme would be as follows: the first initial and the first 5 characters of the last name, as well as a unique number. So the 2 X's here stand for a unique number. So take for example, we have someone named Elena Gilbert. We'll have E and the first 5 characters of the last name, as well as a unique number. For other users, which will include the accounts and foreign exchange and so on, we have the first 5 letters of the last name and the first 2 letters of their first name, as well as the middle initial. So if the person were named Darius Dundas, then we'll have the first 5 characters of the last name, and then the first 2 of the first name and the middle initial. In the case that there's no middle initial, we use a unique number. And this is done so that we can support persons who may have similar names. Next, we'll discuss security groups. Security groups is basically a way of grouping users in order to assign permissions and rights. We'll have all management staff assigned to a management group, and they'll be given permissions to do printing, view employee information, and so on. We'll also have distribution groups created for the purpose of sending company emails within the different departments. Each department, or OU, as my colleague Michael mentioned, will contain 2 administrators, and this is so that if anyone gets locked out of their account, someone will be able to either reset their password, or if there's a new employee, that person will be authorized to create a user account for that employee. Specific IT users will help make up the administrators group, and there will be 2 account operators, which are persons who will create and edit as well as delete user accounts, 2 backup operators, which will be responsible for backing up data, and 3 print operators, and these persons will manage the printers within the company, as well as 3 enterprise admins, and these are persons who basically have full control over the entire forest. So these persons, and the reason for having 3 of them is just in case someone may not be in that moment, and someone else can do the job for us. What is a group policy? Well, group policy is available in Active Directory, and the group policy basically is a way that admins can store settings and configurations for user accounts as well as OUs. And this centralized system helps to reduce costs, increase productivity, and improve security. This is just a diagram that my colleague would have had, but we're focusing now on the OUs, which are general banking and customer care, the different departments, and the policies are where the policies will be applied. This table here is showing our password policy and our settings. And we have our naming system, so it would be the branch, so Antigua admin 01 and the case would be. And the precedence for, I group them in 3 general groups of users. The precedence would be how they will be applied. The lowest number will take control. So if there's an administrator within HR, the admin policy will apply to them and not the HR policy. We did not enable reverse encryption, but what this does, it saves the password in plain text, which will provide a security issue in case we have malicious persons. Our password history is set at a higher number for administrators because we have less administrators within the corporation, therefore there will be less need for them to change their password. And what the password history is basically is the amount of unique passwords a person will have to have before they can reuse it. Password complexity, we have that enabled for everyone. Password complexity will mean that the password has to contain a upper and lowercase character as well as non-alphabetic characters and a number. And it cannot be the person's username. The minimum password length, we had it as a higher number for administrators because these persons will be having most access to the system or full control to the system. So we have a higher character count for their password. The minimum password age, that would be the amount of time that has to pass before a person can change their password after just getting it. We have a lower number because we have less IT staff, less administrators, whereas we have for management and other users, these will comprise most of the users within the company, so they need to change passwords more often. Our maximum password age would be the amount of time a person has to have one password before they can change it. And we have a lower number for administrators too because there are less members in the administration, less users as administrators. So these persons would need to change their password more frequently. And they are handling more sensitive data. Our lockout threshold would be the amount of failed logons before the system will lock you out. We have a lower number because IT administrators will be accessing more data as well as they'll have full control over the different domains. Our lockout duration is set at infinite or 0. This would mean that the account will stay locked out until an authorized person or one of the administrators within the department resets their password. Whereas the observation window would be the amount of time before the system itself clears the failed logons. This is just a general rundown of the user rights that we chose to assign. There are many user rights, but these are just the ones that will be most applicable to the company. The right to shut down the system, to shut down domain controllers, we gave that to only administrators. To shut down member servers, which would be file servers and so on, we gave that to backup operators and administrators. We denied this right to account operators, server operators, and guests. The right to log on locally to domain controllers, only administrators. Server roles, backup operators, and administrators. And end user computers, which would be the regular computers, to users. We will deny this right to account operators, server operators, and guests. The right to access the domain controllers from the network, we'll give that to administrators, enterprise domain controllers, and special authenticated as to access the workstation. And servers, we give that to backup operators, administrators, and users. The right to backup files and directories, we give that to specific members of IT or designated members, as well as to change the system type. And the right to restore files, we only give this right to the local administrators. So what we have covered in our project, our presentation, we covered our mesh network design connected via VPN using the IPsec protocol, as well as our Active Directory drawing showing the relationship between our 5 domain sites and OUs, which would support up to 2,000 plus users. Our domain names, which would be, our domain would be abb.local and dom.abb.local, as well as the others. Our DNS infrastructure to support Active Directory, such as our domain names, the number of domains and the locations, and how our Active Directory objects will be replicated throughout our network. We also discuss our operation master roles assigned to servers, as well as our global catalog server placement. But I will just discuss our user codes and security groups created and where users will be placed, as well as the account and policies. So, in closing, I'd like to thank you all for taking your time out to come and listen to our presentation. At this point, we'll take any questions.
No question? Let me just.
Good afternoon. I have a few questions, not much.
For the student, right?
You mentioned provided admin access to department heads earlier in the slides, and then afterwards you said you would only allow admin access to the PC with the record to reset password and so on. You said earlier you would not allow admin access to department heads to reset passwords and so on. And afterwards, in the slide you said you only allow admin access to PC controllers.
What will be done with those persons in every department, 2 administrators in every department? They will be basically management staff who can reset passwords. So that would be their own. Whereas the administrators within IT will be the ones who.
So how big is the IT staff?
How big is the IT staff? 150.
IT only?
Well, we have the. What I did was make a general rundown of the departments and how many staff was within them. So I have a table.
Okay. Another question, you had the level threshold set to 7. Why is it higher? Level threshold is set to 7.
7.
Yeah, after 7 attempts, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's too high. I would think 3 or 4 should be fine. Yeah. Also, you talking about the complexity password. How do you configure it to exclude log-on usernames?
That's supposed to be the default.
How? When you configure it, what you use? Sorry? Okay, that's not pretty bad.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, thank you so much. All right, good presentation. Okay, our second presentation is going to be about network infrastructure. And what is this involves? This is all the wires and equipment that are put together to make a network possible. So many times you go to work and you turn on your computer and everything seems to work, right? But behind the scenes, there are a lot of equipment, there are a lot of configurations that have to take place both for wired and wireless access to the network. So this presentation is going to be about developing network infrastructure for a very large site. One thing I should have mentioned at the outset is that a scope was given to every group, right, to make sure that we have equitable presentations and also presentations that have substance. So the scope given was like you had 5 different locations and you had like 2,000 users. So it's pretty large. I mean, outside of probably the government, I don't think there is any other one company that may have so many employees in Antigua. So we're not only preparing students to work here, but basically to work anywhere in the world using all the latest networking and IT technology that's available. So the upcoming presentation, as I mentioned, would be how do you build this network using what it's switches, routers, the cabling, the type of equipment to ensure that when you go into work and you turn on your computer that you will have network access to the different resources that you have. And to present this project, yeah, I see. Give it a copyright, right? Original, okay. Would be Franklin Carbon and Lester Cassidy. Please welcome them to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lester Cassidy, and this is my team member, Franklin Carbon. We will be presenting our Capstone project, which is a network infrastructure solution for People's Insurance Company. Just to give you some background, People's Insurance Company is a new company. It offers different types of insurance coverages, which includes property, motor, group life, individual and family medical, and marine. People's Insurance Company has 5 offices. The central office is located in Antigua, and there are 4 remote offices in Grenada, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and Dominica. There's a total of 2,000 employees within the company. There's 1,000 at the central office in Antigua, 500 in Grenada, 250 in St. Kitts, 150 in St. Lucia, and 100 in Dominica. All of the offices have internet connectivity, but the offices are not connected together. There's no network. Our project scope. As I said, the offices are not connected together. There's no network. A network allows computers to communicate with each other and exchange information. And so the aim of our project is to select a network infrastructure solution based on Cisco's enterprise architecture. Now, when we speak about network infrastructure, we are referring to the hardware that allow devices to connect to the network. So like switches, the access points, the cables. As a part of our solution, we will create topology drawings for the local area network and the wide area network. The local area network is a small area, such as an office or building. And a wide area network is a large geographical area, like from one country to another, or from a state to another state. Also, we will design the building floor plans. We will allocate IP addresses to the different offices. We will select the cabling for the local area network. We will select the network equipment, both the LAN and the WAN. These equipment are routers, switches, access points, wireless LAN controllers. We will also configure those equipment. Some of the configuration are VLANs, link aggregation, spanning tree protocol, port security, access list, and wireless authentication. This is our wide area network topology design, and the design is in a hub and spoke or star topology. we considered a mesh topology, but we figured that most of the communication will take place between the branch offices and the headquarters, as opposed to the branches communicating with each other. So we decided to go with the hub and spoke topology. The hub being the central office in Antigua, and the spoke is each individual site-to-site tunnel between the central office and the remote offices. Our connection methodology is, we thought about lease lines, but we felt we should go with the VPN solution, because most of the branches are in different countries. They already have internet connectivity, so we felt that VPN will be easier, it will be secure, and it will be cheaper. Also, as a part of our VPN solution, our VPN protocol will be layer 2 tunneling protocol, and for security, we will implement IPsec to encrypt the data. As data is in transit over the public network, it has to be secured. And so IPsec will encrypt the data. Encryption means to scramble the data so it is not in a readable form. So only the intended recipient will be able to read the information. Our local area network design. We will be using Cisco's modular approach to design the network in layers. And designing the network in layers have some benefits. It will be easier to manage, it will be easier to expand. If there's a problem, it will be easier to troubleshoot. So the 3 layers are the access layer, the distribution layer, and the core layer. And each layer have a specific function. The access layer connect end devices to the network. So end devices like PCs, laptops, access point. Distribution layer controls network traffic using policies. And the core layer is responsible for fast transportation of data through the network. We will use the 3-tier layer for the large headquarters because a lot of traffic will be going through the headquarters. And the 3-tier layer consists of the 3 layers. And we will use this 2-tier layer for the smaller branch offices. At the branch offices, the traffic will not be as great as the headquarters. And so using the 2-tier layer will help us to reduce network costs while getting the same benefits as using a 3-tier layer. Additionally, as part of our design, we're going to configure a virtual switching system, VSS or virtual switch. And what VSS is, it is a virtualization technology that allows 2 physical switches to act as 1 logical switch. So VSS simplifies the network by reducing the amount of devices they have to manage. So management becomes easier. So this is our headquarters local area design, and it is designed with redundancy. That means that each device is connected to 2 other devices. So if a link or device fails, there is an alternate path. So we still have communication, and this will ensure business continuity. At the bottom we have some VLANs, which my team member will speak about later. But we will be using 4 VLANs on the network. We have a VLAN for our IT and HR department, 1 for our finance and account department, 1 for our sales and marketing department. So here is our access layer, and we have some end device here connected. Here is our server farm with like our file servers, database servers. And our virtual switch is at the distribution layer and the core layer. And how this works, one switch is the active switch, and the other switch is the hot standby switch. There's a link between both, a virtual switch link, and that allows both switches to communicate with each other, basically to synchronize so that each of them have the same information. If the active switch fails, the standby switch will sense that, and then that will become the active switch. This is our wireless LAN controller, and it allows us to control all of the access points from a central location. This is our DMZ, or demilitarized zone, and it sits between the trusted internal network and the untrusted network, the internet. It basically prevents unauthorized access to the network. We will be using multiple ISPs at our location, and we will configure automatic failover. So if ISP 1 fails, ISP 2 will kick in. This is our branch office land, and all the branch offices will have the same design. The only difference is that we're using 2 layers, or the collapse core. We have our VLANs, we have the access layer, and this layer we have the core and the distribution as one. We have our controller, our server farm, our DMZ. Basically like the headquarters land, the only difference, because of less traffic, we're using the 2-tier layer. This is our IP address allocation diagram, and it shows how we will distribute IP addresses to the different offices. We will use the 172.16.0.0/16 address space and create IP addresses for all of the offices. So we created subnets for each of the locations, and subnets are just smaller networks, and we made sure that each subnet has an adequate amount of IP addresses to satisfy the needs of the offices both now and for in the future. So take for instance Antigua. Antigua has 1,000 employees. If they have 50 devices that need IP address, that's 1,050. So we gave them 2,048 available IP addresses. Another example, Grenada. Grenada has 500 employees, plus let's say 50 devices, 550. We gave them 1,025 available IP addresses, and we did that for all of the offices. Additionally, we went further and we subnetted those subnets to create 4 smaller subnets, and we assigned a subnet to a VLAN. So each VLAN will be on its own subnet and have its own IP addresses. Our wireless local network, or wireless LAN. A wireless LAN is a local area network that does not need cables to connect the different devices. Instead of cables, they use radio frequencies. Our wireless infrastructure components consist of our access points, and the access points, they basically act as a base station for the wireless network. It is also a bridge between the wireless network and the wired network. We will be using lightweight access points as opposed to autonomous access point. And so we have our wireless LAN controller, which will allow us to control all of our access points from a central location. There are different wireless standards, and over the years these standards have improved, and whenever one is looking for a standard for network, they basically consider the data rates, that is how fast the data go from one device to another. And so the slowest is 802.11b at 11 megabits per second. Then we have 802.11a and g, 54 megabits per second. 802.11n, which is much faster than those, 600 megabits per second. And our wireless components will be able to support the latest one, 802.11ac, which has speeds of 1300 megabits per second or 1.3 gigabits per second. Each wireless client will need to know which network they have to connect to. And so they will have to know the SSID. The SSID, or the service set identifier, is an identifier that client devices use to distinguish between multiple networks in the same vicinity. And so the employees at People's Insurance Company will need to know the SSID, and the SSID will be PICWLAN. For wireless LAN, we will use a common distribution system, where all of the access points will be as one. All of them will have the same SSID, and the wireless clients will be able to roam from access point to access point. Of course, we have to secure the wireless LAN, and we considered several wireless security standards. We considered wired equivalent privacy web. We also considered Wi-Fi protected access, WPA, but we chose 802.11i WPA2. With WPA2, we get stronger encryption in advanced encryption standard, and for authentication with WPA2, we will implement extensible authentication protocol over 802.1x. And 802.1x helps to improve the access control security to the wireless network. And what that is, a wireless client will not allow full access to the network until authentication is completed. So this is the access point that we will use, the Cisco AeroNet 3700i access point. And some features of this access point: it supports 802.11a, G, N, and AC standards. It supports up to 128 clients. It uses 4 transmitters for improved performance. And it supports the new generation of Wi-Fi clients, such as smartphones, tablets, high-performance laptops that have integrated 802.11 AC support. This is our controller, the Cisco 5500 series controller. Some features in terms of scalability: it supports up to 500 access points. Performance-wise, it is optimized for 802.11n and 802.11 AC networks. It supports WPA and WPA2. For encryption, it supports web, AES, secure socket layer, IP security. And for security, it supports rogue access point detection and denial of service attacks. This is our building floor plan, and it shows how we will deploy our access points. Now, each office is equipped with PCs, and it's not every single employee will need wireless access, but there are those employees that will work with their laptops to help them with their work. And so we have an access point in the lunchroom. An employee may be taking lunch, want to check their email or send off email. We have an access point in there, and these access points cover a wide area. So this access point will basically cover this area. Then we have an access point down here to this area, and another one down here to that area. This is another building floor plan. Again, in the conference room, some may have meetings and employees want to work with their laptops. So we have an access point in there, and this will cover this area. One down here to cover this area, and another one to cover this area. My team member will now come and make his presentation.
My name is Franklin Carbon. There is no network without a wired network. And in terms of hacking, you heard of the White House been hacked. The best security is wire security. You had to be physically engaged to access that network or retrieve data. So I'm here to present the wireless aspect of our network. Wired aspect of our network. Wired aspect refers to the hardware that allows devices to connect to the network using cable. In terms of cabling, we use our routers to connect our cables to connect our routers, connect our switches, and in terms of cabling, we'll use fiber optic cables and copper. It is said that the best of all is fiber optic, but it will be presented in our presentation today. For our core switch, we use the Catalyst 65 series, Cisco, because we are dealing with the Cisco design. And some of the benefits or features of the core switch are simple as this. It's 16 gigabyte fiber internet. It supports virtual switching that generates resiliency. There is no time for downtime with network, so we have to incorporate good resiliency in our network. We integrate service module to support wireless, network analysis, and security. Also, it improves performance and scalability. Hence the reason why we choose Catalyst 65. And it supports 80 gigabits per second per slot capacity. Each interface that is accessed on the Catalyst switch can give you at least 80 gigabits per second on that slot. Next, we have our distribution switch, which is a Cisco Catalyst 4503E. This switch also provides switching capacity with up to 250 megabits of throughput. It also dual power supply. One of the disadvantages in networking is to have your device down. Just per chance this device would fail one power supply, there is a backup power supply for continuity. Also, it supports system throughput, 800 megabits. It also supports virtual switching that provides resiliency, as we said earlier on the core switch. And finally, it improves performance and scalability. We looking at the line card of that switch. Is an 8 gigabyte Ethernet fiber module, as you can see here. It provides up to 10 gigabit Ethernet fiber ports. It does support virtual switching, and in terms of buffering, it can buffer up to 256 megabits. Cases where you're downloading or connecting data traveling data from one or Dominic branch to Antigua branch or St. Kitts branch to our general base Antigua, it can support 256 megabits packet buffering. You could wait until all packets are sent and received. For access layer switch, we choose the 3650X series in contrast to the 2960. The 3650 gives us a 48 port of 10, 100, and 1000. It supports power over Ethernet and non-power modules. It also have two 10 gigabit uplink network modules, so we can upload from our access to our distribution switch. It comes with this all-port one rack where it's an industry-first power Ethernet with 30 megawatts power all-port in a rack unit. If perchance you would have an IB phone in your office, we could have power supply to that phone, not necessarily going to the outlet as seen on the wall to have its own power. It also supports dual redundancy, as I said earlier on. And it's hot swappable. If one fan goes down, you can, during operation, pull it out, insert another fan, and it doesn't bother your operation at all. It does support media access control security, which if you're not assigned, if you're not part of the network, you can't come into our network and plug in your laptop. There'll be no connectivity. You have to be authenticated, you have to grant permission from us, my colleague and I, so you can have internet access. We make that void, you can't access our network as a sign of security. Now, we choose single mode fiber against versus dual mode. It can protect light, it can project light in a specific pattern, which means you get a faster speed during data transfer, faster speed. It's a single mode cable, it's much faster than multi-mode, we know that. And it can send data at speed of 10 gigs, remarkable fast. It's also capable of transmitting data up to 40 gigs, talking fiber. And its integrity, it can cover over hundreds of kilometers without little integrity loss. For instance, if we have this across the new terminal at the airport with all these heavy machines and trucking and backhoes, this will have no impact on our network using this fiber optic cable. Okay, we have also for our end users at the access point, we decide to use our category 6 or Cat 6 cable wiring. There is a good advantage over the Cat 5. The Cat 6 would run up to 550 megahertz, and the Cat 5 would be just 250. So we're looking at speed in terms of data traffic. Hence the reason why we choose our Cat 6 fiber. It also support Ethernet, fast Ethernet, and gigabit Ethernet. And it's backward compatible, meaning that if we have a device that can work on a Cat 5 and we would have it bridged onto a network, it can cater operation for that device, although it's a Cat 5 compliant device. And it reduces crosstalk on the wiring aspect of data transfer. This was depicted earlier on, but I'm here to show our cabling aspect, wiring aspect. For our cross switch, we're going to use 10 gig fiber to connect these two switches. This will be a virtual switch, just in case this switch would go down. Automatically send that in for cross, and then we'll have this second switch be the active switch. We also use 10 gigabyte fiber for our distribution switch likewise. Bearing in mind that there is no network without a backup, so we have this configured this way. We use 1 gig our Cat 6 cable, which would be to connect our end devices to the access switches. So all devices on our VLANs will use our Cat 6 cabling. Network equipment configuration. All these devices that are presented here ought to be configured, because if a device is not configured, there's no action, there's no activity on the device. So we intended and we did configure these devices. We did spanning tree protocol, that's a protocol. We also configured port security at the access layer. We configured access list, that would be at the distribution layer of our network. And last but not least, we configure link aggregation. Just to expand on these, inclusive with our VLAN, just to expand on these protocols of our configuration. Spanning tree protocol. What is spanning tree protocol? What's the benefit of spanning tree protocol? It provides loop in the network. It prevents loops in the network. Very important. It also provides redundancy to all devices in the network. Spanning tree. It allows a single active path between devices at a time. So, a case in point, if two devices are connected, two devices will not work at the same time. However, if one device goes down, automatically other device will be activated. Isn't that a good idea? It's a good idea. Port security. Port security at the access list layer. In port security, it allows for limiting the number of MAC addresses on a given port. As I said earlier on, you can't come onto our network and plug in any device without our consent. It blocks you out automatically, port security. Also, the packets that have a matching MAC address are forwarded. All other packets are restricted. It enables on a per port basis. So let's just assume on our 24-port switch, we engage 12 ports. There's a remainder of 12 unused ports. These unused ports will be secured. that no additional devices can be connected to these unused ports. When locked, only packets with allowable MAC addresses will be forwarded. Another security. And finally, on our port security, it supports both dynamic and static. You can have a dynamic IP, a static IP, it does support both. Our access list, that would be on our distribution layer, access list. In our access list, it reduces the chance of denial of service attack. Very important. It also blocks unwanted traffic or users access. That will be on our distribution layer. It controls access to virtual terminal lines. Some users, advanced IT tech users, would log into your system through VTL and would access remote data or remote devices on your network. Well, this is restricted on our network. You can't access it through this medium. Blocking or permitting internet access to other devices. This also is denied on our network. Link aggregation. Link aggregation increased bandwidth. Link aggregation, it gives the capacity of multiple links, is combined into one logical link. So the system would see it as one device. Our VLAN. Network security can be reached by separating sensitive data traffic from other network traffics. That's why we have a VLAN. Many logical networks can use the same network infrastructure. Also, VLAN makes it easier for IT staff to configure new logical groups, making IT work easier. Hope we have it in a practical environment. Our conclusion or summary: in meeting the necessary requirements for People's Insurance Company, we have been able to select a network infrastructure solution based on the Cisco Enterprise architecture. This solution provides availability, manageability, scalability, and security. We have performed our research, and we think these will benefit us as we seek to incorporate these protocols and resource-based devices to present our presentation today. Any questions?
First of all, the presentation, I just have two quick questions. First of all, talk about the internet providers. So you don't want to recircuit and you're going to use regular ISP. What interface are you using? Fiber interfaces, copper interface for, like, for example, cable from your ISP.
What's your question, please? What's the reason you're using?
No, you're going to use your ISP, right? You're using this circuit.
Yes.
So you get it connected via copper cable, in terms of a cable DSL, or fiber. What are you going to use for that? From your ISP,
Right?
you bring your data.
Right?
What are you going to connect? Using fiber?
Fiber and copper. We'll be using
From
fiber.
your ISP to your company?
Now you're saying something.
So from your ISP to your company, you're going to be using fiber or copper, and you're using copper is a decorated cable modem, or it's going to be a modem, or what are you going to use?
We'll be using copper from ISP to our network.
What kind of copper is it? DSL?
Cable.
Cable. Now you said you're going to use cable or whatever traffic you're pushing across the network. For example, you may have databases, it's insurance company. Whatever database, basically replication and so on. You want to think about need to win it on cable modem, and they can handle it. So you have 25 meg for them, of course. If in the area using a cable modem and you have a lot of traffic going across, you can experience like lag, all lag in connectivity.
Well, from the ISP, once it's into our network, we use fiber from our core switches down to a distribution.
I mean, that's inside, but we're going across the network from one branch to another branch.
Oh, VLAN, we use VLAN.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Not just
Traffic going across from one branch to another branch.
The thing is, we didn't consider that.
Well, because if you only take the branches already, you have to consider traffic going across the ISP, and you're going to be using one type of media, copper media, fiber. So you're seeing in one user of Eastern, like you should use the ABIIT, and you should be able to so on. So you should consider.
yeah.
The other point was, you mentioned supporting wireless clients, right? How do you provide security for wireless clients in terms of separating traffic from what's on your LAN versus people who want to browse and watch or, listen to game, chat, or what have you?
Well, we didn't separate it. It's one is
So if you have someone interested in trap packets and so on, you just do the traps on data and understand that,
But there's security measures in place.
What if I'm authorized? I still work in HR. I'm on the same VLAN as IT last, and I'm just malicious and I want to send out some package. Run, some like wire charges, some traps and packets and stuff.
I hear you, but we didn't consider that.
Oh, God. That's it.
Thank you. I'm Eugene. First of all, I would like to ask you a few questions. What is the distance between the branch office and the head office?
Each office is in a different country. I don't know.
Oh, different country. Perfect. Okay. So, are you using internet to bridge them together? I understand. VPN. But how does VPN work? Through the internet. Yeah, so you can't tell me VPN. If I ask you, how do you bridge your company together? You tell me through internet by using VPN.
I said that.
No, you said VPN.
In my presentation, I said
Okay. That's it. What is the maximum traffic? What is the maximum traffic between one branch office and the other, like the head office? What is the maximum? Because I want to know why you guys are using 25. How many branch offices?
If you ask us a question, you need to allow us to answer.
Okay.
I was answering you.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Answer the question.
Can they have I'm going to answer the question.
Yes,
That was expected from Eugene. There is nobody like him, so we will speak together. That was expected. Just permit me to get to the slides. That makes.
I'm impressed that you're standing there right now. Very.
Okay, you're asking, we're using 25 megabits from Dominica to Central Quarters, Antigua. We're using 35 megabits from St. Kitts to Central. We're using 50 megabits from Grenada to Central and 25 megabits from St. Lucia to Central Office.
Okay, that is the bandwidth you are using, but it does not tell us what is the maximum data usage per branch office to the head office. You want to know the bandwidth before you can judge what you can put per branch office.
That's correct.
So you don't have that.
No, but this was not determined during our preparation.
So, okay, let's say take any branch and tell me the maximum bandwidth that you
Okay,
use.
for our assignment, we were given this info. We were given this information to work with, and these were part of our assignments. We had to stay within that scope to do our project.
I'll move on from that. Let's talk about, he said, I think he made mention that people can bring their personal laptops and use on the network. What kind of security measures do you have for those people? Because you never know, somebody might have a software running that can take the company's data and run with it. What kind of security? I'm asking about what kind of security measures do you have for that?
To access the wireless as part of our network, you have to go through this encryption. We have IPsec, we have SSL. You can access our network, a wireless network, without being authenticated.
Okay, perfect. After you have been authenticated, you are in the network. If I have something on my computer to run to get that data, now that I'm in, and you have given me that code, I can get your information.
What's that?
Yeah, so what kind of security do you have for people that brings their laptop from home? That's the question.
Okay.
Okay, let's move from there. Let's go back to Cisco design. You made mention, one of you made mention that the design is Cisco, so therefore you have to buy all Cisco device. Is that what you're saying? What is the budget for this, network? Because I want to know why all the Cisco device can represent this network.
Because I'll get it to you. The network itself, we were asked to configure our project was based on the Cisco infrastructure. That's on the base of our project. We were asked to do our research and have this project compiled based on Cisco architecture.
Okay.
So that is part of our requirement.
Okay. Just a quick question. Can this same network can be implemented with other devices? I'm just asking.
Yes, it's compliant. If you have a Netgear device, it's operational on Cisco. It's just that we were given this specific detailed information to do our projects from Cisco architecture, and we had to comply with the instruction.
Okay, I just don't want to, make you feel bad. So I'll let you go.
Just a recommendation, I thought you guys told me to put the internet, wireless traffic on a separate VLAN to provide the security. That was an easy fix.
Okay.
But if it's separate traffic, separate VLAN to provide security as well, you can provide a different addressing scheme for people. Right?
Okay.
That's another way to do that. Also, in terms of your ISP, probably request file connection from the ISP to your company's headquarters, right?
Thank you very much.
Fix.
Any other question?
Can I go again?
No. Okay, thank you so much.
Can I go again?
No. We have to take all day. No. We have all night.
Carbon, what was your reason between deciding your hub and spoke one topology?
Hub and spoke. What's our reason?
Was it a communication take place between the branch offices and the headquarters? It's not like the branch offices will be communicating with each other.
So you're saying it's contiguous? It's contiguous, means
Yes,
separate.
yes.
But they connect back to the head office?
Yeah. The connection would be from original office to head office.
So for your acts of so if I was an employee who basically works in St. Kitts and had to travel to Grenada, what would I do?
You will have to, well, Grenada is connected to St. Kitts via the headquarters. If you log in Grenada, to get the St. Kitts, you'll have to be on the centralized area here.
So in terms of your total redundancies depending on the ISP's VPN, in terms of connectivity to head office and the branch office?
Okay, for redundancy we have two ISPs. Just for instance, this would be Digicel and line. If line go down, we have the service of digital. And vice versa, the digital go down. Say for instance, you're in St. Kitts and you want to get across to Dominica, whatever it is, and lines having problem. Whatever task that line would have been performing would be now transferred to digital.
Take into consideration that you use a Cisco architect in terms of your design, which we know that is costly.
Might be so.
But that is really costly. I would just basically recommend at least a partial mesh topology.
Okay, we have to be recommendation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I guess it's warm enough now with all the questions. Our next presentation is going to cover Windows network infrastructure. What this is, basically they built all the wires and all the switches and all the cables to allow networking to occur. The next group is going to present a project that allows Windows networking to work. So for example, it enables, they create the VLANs, but how do the devices get their IP addresses? How do they resolve names? Like when somebody types in www.google.com or facebook.com, how does the traffic ends up going to the correct site? Right? So this is what Windows network infrastructure involves. It involves device on the network getting, for example, an IP address. What's an IP address? This is the address of the device we have on the network that is required for networking. Right? They're going to cover DNS. They're also going to cover something that was covered from a hardware level with them in terms of network access. When a device gets plugged into the network, for example, do you allow it to get direct access, or does the device need to get authenticated? Right? What if the device doesn't have up-to-date antivirus software or the latest Windows patches? Should we allow that network, that device or computer to access the network without being checked? A big trend in computing today is BYOD. Who knows what BYOD is?
Yeah, bring your own.
And what does that mean? People come from home with their tablets, their phones, and they want to get access to the network. Now, give them access to the network is okay, but not when it undermines the integrity and the security of the network. So you have to have policies in place to deal with this. So it's one thing to give them access, but it has to be controlled access. So this project should deal with some of that also in terms of their NAP, network access, right, protection. Right? So without any further ado, I'll let them do their thing and present their project, which will be presented by Hudson Gordon, Colin Ford, and Lawrence F.F. Lewis. Welcome them.
Yeah.
Good evening to the folks.
Hi, good job.
It's a pleasure. Again, my name is Mr. Hudson Gordon. Mr. Thank you. And my colleagues here on my right, we have Mr. Colin Lewis, Mr. Colin Ford, sorry. And on my further right, we have Mr. Lawrence Lewis. The names mixed up. And we're here to present a Windows network infrastructure project, and it's for a company that's called In It to Win It betting company. Okay, it's an online betting company, and it is mainly located in America. It has 5 branches. And these branches are in different states around in America. We have our headquarters, that would be in New York, and Indiana. We have Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. So far we have a total of 2,000 employees, and they're divided among the 5 different locations. And the company offers an online betting and also a customer service online at each location. Right? And as I said, we'll be dealing with Windows network infrastructure. And this is a Windows-based system that has a physical side and a logical side too. Today we'll be looking more at the logical, a little bit at the logical, to give you an understanding. Or project scope. Or project scope. We'll be looking, I will be dealing a little with Active Directory, because Active Directory is the main that controls all of this. So I'll be giving you a little briefing. And then we'll be looking at DNS, which is a domain name system. And then Mr. Ford will come along and he'll be dealing with DHCP, which is a dynamic host configuration protocol that's dealing with IP addresses. And then he'll also be dealing with NAP. This is a network access protection, and it does just as what its name is saying. And also we'll be looking at WSUS. WSUS is a Windows server that deals with updates to the update services, okay? And then we will have Mr. Lawrence. He'll come along and he'll be explaining a bit about the distributed file system, and he'll go down into print management. All right? Here we have a picture of our topology, and as you could see, this is a star topology. And as I said before, we have our headquarters, that is New York, and all our branches, or other 4 branches, are connected to New York via this one. And this one would be, it's going to be a lease circuit coming from an ISP. We're leasing fiber lines from the ISP, and there'll be, see these lines here? That is 2 lease circuit going from the branch, each branch going back to the headquarters. All right? The reason why we're using 2 lead circuit per branch is that we're looking at redundancy, just in case one fails, the other will take over. All right? And also, we have subnetted some IP addresses. No, sorry, wait. Before we go to the IPs, the speed, the different bandwidth. We have between New York and Indiana now. New York would be hosting 1,000 workers. We have 1,000 people working there. And at Indiana, we'll have 500 workers. Thus, we sought to create a medium where we have at least a bandwidth of 50 megabytes running between these 2 links. And then the second going down, the numbers keep going down, and we have the bandwidth dropping again. We go down until, yeah, that's about it. But we're working with fiber optic between each of the departments. Now, as I said, we'll be looking at a little bit at Active Directory, ABIIT, and we're just talking a bit about it. Now, it's the Windows Directory Service that enables administrators to create and manage users and groups to set up network-wide user and computer policies, manage security, and organize network resources. Now, what really Active Directory does, in a nutshell, this is plenty of things to say, is that Active Directory would make all these computers look to one computer, which would be a domain controller, and that domain controller would take care of all the security and all these different things and send out updates to all them different servers around, you know, so that you have one person dealing with. It's easy, it's centralized, just as what this now is another part of Active Directory. This is a server role in Windows 2008 that turns a computer into a domain controller, just as what I was saying. A domain controller is like one computer that gives out the orders to everybody. It's like the teacher in the class. Okay? And another thing about the Active Directory domain service is that it provides authentication and authorization to a user, and computers in a Windows domain environment. All right? What this is really saying, in order for you to get onto the network, a user must be authenticated, right? That's the word. And you must also be authorized. Now, authentication is just giving permission to a user. Now, the teacher would give me permission to go outside, okay? That sounds like what we're talking. So, you would give me the permission. That is permission. And authorization also is saying what you can do when you get onto the network. All right? And Active Directory will be used in this project for security purposes. We're looking at if someone should come into a business, just as what was spoke of earlier, and they brought their own laptop, their own whatever device, and they wanted to get on with the laptop. Now it's going to block them and say, no, you need to get back into Active Directory, you're not on this domain, you can't get in on the network. But then maybe they could go and plug a wire, an Ethernet wire, into an Ethernet port and plug it into their laptop, and then they'll get connectivity. Now that again is going to tell them, no, you can't, it will not allow someone onto the network that is not in the domain. That's how this domain works. Here now we're going to be talking again about another role. This is a server role again. And just as soon as you install Active Directory domain service, the next role you want to deal with is DNS. Okay? DNS, it's a domain name system, right? It's a distributed hierarchical database comprised mainly of computer names and IP addresses together. So, what it's saying here is that it's a database that comprises of IP addresses and names all in one. It's just like you going to your phone book, you know, the ABIIT phone book, and you want to get a name, a number for someone, but you don't know the number, but you know the person's name, right? And that's it. So what you do, you go in the book and look for the name, and when you find the name, you will find the number. That is what DNS does, right? Down here it's explaining a little bit. DNS provides name resolution for all internet connection. DNS provides name resolution for all internet communications and many private networks, including all Windows Active Directory domain, right? DNS is going to give you a name resolution. It finds the name and resolve it to an IP address. Now, locating our DNS servers, each location, in each of our locations, we are going to be having 2 DNS servers, and we have a reason for this. We're looking at redundancy. Okay, just in case one should fail, the other one will take over. What this is saying here, we are going to configure the 2 servers, DNS servers, in each of the location, and one would be called a preferred DNS. Preferred DNS means this would be the main DNS that all the time everybody is going to go to this one to get the resolution. But if this one should fail, they'll look to the other one, which is called an alternate DNS server, which would kick in after the failure of the other one, right? We're looking at the implementations of updates. We'll have updates. We are going to be using a dynamic update on our server. There are 2 types. There's the dynamic and there's the static. Now, a static update would be an administrator going to the computer and updating all these records, looking for anything stale records, and he'll get rid of them and add new records, things like that. And that is going to take up lots of time, okay? So what we're using is a dynamic update one. This one, he will just automatically do the changes. But what we're looking at, we'll be setting it to get updates from trusted servers. We will also be setting it to be an automatic zone replication, meaning if an update is made at one point, it would automatically update at all the other DNS servers. And we will be setting a static IP address on each of the server, and this will allow the clients to find the DNS server. If we don't do that, client won't be able to find it. Now, we'll go into a client and configure just what I was just talking of. This is a picture of how it looks in a client, and right down here we could see it says obtain DNS server address automatically. Yeah, I can't see too well from the side. And what we're going to set right is what I said earlier, is the preferred DNS server IP address, and we'll put it in right there. And then the alternative IP address, we'll put it in there. So just in case this client is looking to resolve an IP address, and it uses the preferred DNS server IP address to reach the DNS server, and then the server isn't there, it's out, then he will now revert to the alternative. For records in DNS, we're looking at the FLZ, which is the forward lookup zones. These zones are like SOA, start of authority, like the A records, the quad A records, MX records, right? These records, we'll be setting them in this, and we'll use the name for init to init. And also we're using another record that's called the RLS, the reverse lookup zone. And this would be using the pointer records. Now, as I said earlier, these are forward lookup. This would be looking forward, meaning, let me explain that. A forward lookup query would be them sending for a name, they send a name to get an IP address. Okay? That's the regular look that you would do. But then, what if now you sent to get one, and the one you got looked a little strange? Or maybe you had been using that for a while, and then you noted something strange about this site now. You would use a reverse lookup, and what this reverse lookup would do, it would, instead of sending the name, it sends the IP address. And now it goes and it says, hey, the IP address you got in this one here, this IP address is going to a hacker, you know. So you know, you just drop that because that is, you know, that won't be good for you. So that is what this will do. Also, we'll be configuring the age, configuring the aging records. Aging is, we're setting something that's called scavenging. Scavenging is deleting of the records over time. These records would become stale. Stale means that they're not that they're no good anymore, right? But understand. It's just in case a computer was turned off. Let's say turn off your computer. Those records now will become sort of stale. You turn it back on. It's looking for new records, right? Or maybe you got a new IP address. There are times when computers would be refreshed with IP addresses, okay? And in getting a new IP address, you'll say, these records are stale. I want to scavenge them, right? We're setting something that's called a no refresh interval, okay? This is going to tell the client, no, you're not going to just throw these records because you feel you, come on, you know me. So we're setting this interval to be at the default 7-day interval. After 7 days, he could now look to refresh him, to do the refresh. No, this is a no, sorry. The one I just explained was this one, right? Him refreshing itself. The no refresh one is telling it, I don't want you to refresh yourself at this time. Okay, hold on until your 7 days has been completed, right? There's also a next one we're setting that's called the zone can be scavenged after, right? And we're giving it a time and a date. Now, let me explain a little easier because if you see it, you understand it better anyway. Right, so let me show you what I'm saying. This is how it looks. And here we have the scavenging of stale resource records. And it's saying that we have a non-refresh interval. We have it set as default 7 days. So after 7 days, it's going to do its work. And then we have a refresh interval. Right? And it will do and down here now, we notice we have a date set in here, and the time. What this is saying, when this time has come, right? Then it could go and scavenge whatever it has and be refreshed with new records, new updates from the DNS server. Another thing we'd be setting would be called round robin in the DNS, okay? And this works, it works well with multiple web servers with a static IP address, and that clients outside of the domain would be able to connect in a load balancing connection. Explaining that. Now, as I said, we have it's an online betting company, and we have 500 workers in Indiana. We have 1,000 in New York. Now, let's suppose in the web servers that we have, let's say we have 3 web servers, right? And most of the traffic was going to New York, where we have 1,000 workers, right? They may overload that server. In setting round robin, what it's going to do, that server is going to get help from the other servers, the other 3 servers. They'll jump in and give it help so that we won't have any problems. Now DNS, yeah. We're setting a name in our DNS, and it's going to be init to winit.local. That's the name of the company. And we have it in New York.init to winit.local, and so with the others. This will be set in each of the DNS servers at the different locations. At this time now, my colleague, Mr.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Ford, and my part of this presentation is to talk about the DNS and network access protection. First off, DNS. DNS stands for DHCP. DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This is a network protocol that enables a server to automatically assign an IP address to a device. Meaning that, for instance, in New York, you're going to have 1,000 employees. You're going to have 1,000 employees. And these employees will get devices to use. DNS will be implemented to give you IP address for each devices, such as the computers and so on. The DHCP, sorry about that again. Instead of the administrator coming to manually configure a static IP address to each device, that won't really make much of a sense. So DNS is implemented so you can give the machines the IP addresses. These IP addresses are assigned from a different range of numbers. IP addresses are considered because DNS assigns them only when requested. DHCP. DNS stick in my mind because he's talking about DNS. DHCP. Okay, the location of the DHCP servers. There are 5 location headquarters, which is New York, Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee and Georgia. 2 DHCP servers will be at each location. It's for redundancy. Just in case one fails, they have another one. Some people may say that's too much DHCP servers, but they are all important the same way. All DHCP servers will have a different range of address, so you won't have IP config. Okay, this is the network scope for New York. We have the VLAN names, the VLAN, the subnet, and the switch IP address. Because, as in the previous presentation, VLANs are configured on a switch. Okay, for IT, each department will be on a different VLAN. IT will be on VLAN 2, accounts will be on VLAN 1, and each of them will have a subnet address that can accommodate each of the individuals in the department and the devices. So this is config. These /24 mean that there are 254 available addresses in each subnet here. The VLANs are also configured for security purposes. So if anyone in IT, IT have all rights to everything. If anyone in accounts, they can just go over to marketing and just log in on the computers or configure something towards the place. For Indiana, the subnet addresses again, same departments, freelance again. It's basically the same for all of the different sites. Okay, freelance. Freelance are a group of devices on one or more local area network that are configured to communicate as if they were on the same or attached to the same wire. So now we're going to talk about network access protection. Network access protection is a Microsoft technology for controlling network access of a computer, host base, and system of the host. This feature now allows the administrators to set security policies on a server that users have to comply with for them to get connected on the network. Okay, some of these rules that are policies that we're going to configure on the server would be all the machines have to have updates and service patch, antivirus or anti-spyware are installed and up to date. Firewalls enable patches. This is just some of the policies that we're going to implement on the server for NAP. And NAP enforcement points. These are what we're going to use to enforce those policies so no one can get on the network as they please and do as they please. We're going to use 802.1x and IPsec. 802.1x relies on network infrastructure such as the routers and switches. IPsec is internet protocol security. This one is a little more difficult to configure, but it's more secure than 802.11 because it does everything, basically. Now these rules are needed to be installed on the server so IPsec to be able to work. Active Directory domain controller ADC, HRA, which is health registration along with IIS. IIS is also an Active Directory role. The network policy server, this server will contain all the health check that we will check the system or device for. And then we have a certification authority which will be using Active Directory certificate service. Okay. 802.1x and IPsec. They protect headquarters and branches from non-compliances, track security compliances, manage internal risks, keep computers up to date, protect access from unmanaged PC, and protect roaming laptops. We won't be using VPN because we're not having anyone access it. We're not enabling remote access or DHCP. DHCP is now also another NAP enforcement. We will be using that also. Okay, this is a diagram I'm going to use to explain how how 802.1x and IPsec work. Okay, I'm going to explain 802.1x first. It doesn't matter who or however want to connect the network, they're going to be sent into the local area network. They're going to be sent here, which will have a switch. And the switch will say, hey, you're not allowed on this network. So I'm going to send you to the NPS, which is Network Policy Services, for the health check. When they get sent here, the device now will go through the health check process. If you pass the health check with all the updates, antiviruses, firewalls, the terminal, and those other health checks, they will be allowed full access to the network and would be able to access all the resources on the network. If they fail the test, they will send to a restricted area or the remediation server area, which will give them some updates, Windows updates, and have limited access to the network. For IPsec now, all the protocols will be installed on the server. Someone is trying to get it on our network. The same thing will happen. They will get sent to the NPS, and once they pass the health check, they will get an IPsec certificate. What this certificate allows it allows the user to gain access to the full network. Yes, access to the full network with a certificate check. If you don't have the full, you won't get, if you don't pass the health test, you won't get the full access to the network. What it does, we will configure it so we can also get sent to the remediation network, so you will have limited access also. Okay, if a client fails the health check, like say the client come, he failed the firewall test, the antivirus, and most of those things, we just deny access completely. We don't want your network whatsoever. The remediation network will provide update services to the clients that have failed health checks. So if you have an antivirus that's outdated now, it will be updated and so. Okay, WSOS, Windows Server Update System Services. This is a centralized tool for managing Windows updates for a client computer. This feature delivers approved updates to clients and remove updates that are outdated or cause issues to the computer. And WSOS will be installed in the server at each branch. So each branch will have this feature, everything will be up to date. Okay, I'll now turn you over to my colleague. Sorry.
I'm all right. Hi, good afternoon. As my colleague said, I'm Mr. Lewis, right? And I'm in charge of implementing DFS. Now, the DFS is a Microsoft server tool that allows administrators to create a logical view of directories and files regardless of where those files are on the network. This facility states that it groups all the shared files from each of the servers and distribute them on the network. And this service now has the advantage of creating a fault tolerance because the data is shared among all the different servers. And it has an easy access for end users. Right. And each location now will install this DFS service on each of the file servers. So as you can see here, we have the file server in New York, we have the file server in India, Kentucky, and so forth. Right? So now, as mentioned earlier now, we will group all the shared files. And these are the shared files that we're going to share more on network. We have the marketing file, we have the account file, we have the user file and department file. Now in order for this DFS to be implemented now, we would have to create what we call DFS namespace. Now the DFS namespace now basically a virtual view of the DFS shared within the organization. Right? This is because all the files are shared between each of the servers for the different networks. If a user wanted to access the file, you do only see one drive. You do only see one drive instead of all the different drives for the different servers. Right? And it can be stored as a member server or domain controller. Now, there are two types of namespace: domain namespace and standalone namespace. I will explain those a bit now. And DFS namespace have a feature called enumeration, where it only show the file the user has access to. So if a user wants to access the file, and he doesn't have access to that file, the file will not show on the shared file. So now, to explain the two different types of domain, the two different types of DFS namespace. We have the domain-based namespace, which is the one that we're going to implement in our system. The namespace can have a DFS mode on the domain controller in the Active Directory or member server and can be accessed from any client computer. And it also provides load balancing because we can store the DFS code on any server now. All the work is not limited to one server. And as you can see, if the user wants to access this domain-based namespace, should have to access it by / and the domain name / the root name. Now we go to the standalone namespace, where this one here now is limited to be stored on one local computer within the network. And that computer can have access directly installed in it. And if you were to use it now, a user would have access to the namespace, the / the name of the server, and the DFS. So now, here we have the domain-based namespace. Now we have namespace for user files, which is hosted on the HQ, which is in New York. So we have the / New York, that init to init, .local, which is the domain name for that network. And we have sales, which is hosted in India now, which we have the domain name for that also, along with department files in Kentucky. Now, in order for these files to synchronize with each other, we need to provide what we call an DFS replication. And this is a service which replicates data across the network within the building or the geographic location. And it's an upgraded replication engine from FRS, which is used in all the server environment. Where in the DFS now, the only thing that is changed now, only the part of the file which is changed is replicated among the network. And it also provides fault tolerance. Now, we have a simple diagram here showing how replication actually works. Okay, have the tools. We have two servers, sorry about that. We have two servers here now, explaining how replication actually works. Two servers with the same shared files, HQ files and the user files. The Kentucky server has HQ files and user files. Now, replication now. If the admin now change the file HQ file to it will be automatically replicated to the other server. If it can't up, right? Vice versa. The user file to the other user file in the other location, right? Yeah, I also have the responsibility of installing the PIN services in the network. So what I did now, install a PIN server role in each of the servers where we have the HQ, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia PIN server. Now, after installing the print to roll on these servers now, create what we call a Windows print management, where with this service now, you can manage printers, you can install drivers for printers from a single location, you can install printers, and you can deploy printers and check print status. So now, with the Windows print management now, I use it to deploy printers using group policy. So now I deploy the printers with a per user basis versus the per machine basis. Now with the per user basis now, the users can be grouped so they can log in any printer from any computer. For instance, a user would go, well, using an account department may go in another department now to do some work now and need to print the document. Now instead of going back to his department to print the document, he can log into a computer in that department and print the document from there. But the per machine basis now is group computers, so all users of that computer can access the print. But we don't want that because that will limit the person as per user basis. And also install the internet printing, which allow users to print from a web page. So the user can use this now to find out the status of a printer or print job. You can allow users to find out the printer capabilities. And I said earlier, we installed it onto the server to enable users to log on to service web orders to print, share the printer using IP through the cloud. So now, our overview of what me and my team did now, we installed Active Directory, we installed provide authentication, authorization to users and computers in the Windows environment. DNS was used to resolve names to IP. DHCP was configured to supply device with an IP address. NAP was used as a security feature. WSUS is used for updates. And DFS was used to distribute shared files. And the printing was done with I installed that. Now, end our presentation.
I don't have a question to say, more of a recommendation. You never explained what zones were, and you never explained why you would need to use Guinness. I mean, you explained it, yes, but you didn't say that, of course, companies going to use machine gates to the top. You must try to resolve it, right? So you should see why you use the Guinness. You say for the human element as opposed to the computer element.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was about it. Oh,
Thank you.
The next thing is always skill.
Good night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
First question. This is a basic company, but looking at your explanation, it looks like you guys are talking about what really happened within the organization, that what the client from outside can experience going onto your website. That is my first observation. Second, we're going to go to the questions and ask questions. So you said a branch office have 500 employees, right?
That's one of the branches.
Okay. And all of them have to log on to a computer, I believe.
It's an online betting company.
About 600 people working in a betting company. Does it mean all of them have to use a computer?
That is true.
So don't, give me that. Now, let's talk about DNS and DHCP. Which, is it the branch office that is going to issue the IP address, or local branch office is going to issue their own IP addresses? You have branches and you have head office. Is it the head office that is going to issue the IP addresses to the local branch office, the IPs, or each branch office is going to issue their own IP addresses? Is that?
Each branch will have their own ISP. Each branch will have their own ISP.
Okay, we're not talking about ISP, we're talking about DHCP service. You know, each branch have computers. Therefore, each computer needs an IP address to be able to exist on the network, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. My question again is it the head office servers that are going to issue the IP addresses to the client on the branch office, or the local branch office is the one going to issue the IP addresses to the client within the branch office?
I said earlier in the presentation that each office will have their own DHCP server that will issue the addresses to the device.
They can be secondary DHCP servers. You know that? Oh, you don't know? Okay. Mr. Warren, they said they don't know. So, okay, now let's talk about... Stop, guys, stop. No, let's talk about... This is a learning experience, okay? I'm learning, you guys are learning. Don't take it personal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just got this down because you guys need to know. Let's talk about Windows Update, because I realize you have Windows Update service, right? That is going to issue update to about 600 or 500 computer in the branch office. Is this going to be done local from the branch office, or is it going to be rolled out from the head office to the branches? It's very confusing when you guys talking about updates and you're not explaining how this is going to be done. Now, 65%, I'm not done. 65% of users all over the world complain of hard space because of Windows Update. I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but hard, it's like drive space. You understand? Okay, so what are you going to do to reduce this update, since you have about 500 users per a branch office? What I'm saying is, each branch office have about 500, according to Tintin. You have about 500 clients or users on a network. Each of them, if they're supposed to use a computer, then they're going to use 600 or 500 computers. But when you do update, depending on the hard drive space, update, after a while, it gets your hard drive full, right? But since you guys are talking about update, I'm asking, my question is, what are you guys going to do to limit the usage of update on the drive space for 600 or 500 employees in a company? You guys are confused. Mr.
No, we're not confused.
Okay, you're going to answer the last question? Yeah, I mean, they are just
Any more questions?
they are lost.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're up to the last presentation for tonight, which will be a presentation on security. So this group is charged with implementing a security solution for a corporate network of similar type as the other groups have presented so far. So their responsibility will be to protect the IT assets, and it should be a very interesting presentation based on some of the things you might think would fall under our security policy as an IT company. Right? So without any further ado, because it's getting late, we'll go straight into the last presentation tonight, which will be presented by Paul Richards, and DJ Lewis.
Yeah. Good evening. I know some of y'all are probably hungry, but don't worry, we have some treats at the back out. We won't be so long either. So, my name is Major Lewis, and that's my colleague Paul Richards. Our topic is security. And we're here to do a security implementation on an insurance company called Stadico Insurance. So basically, Stadico Insurance is a new company which offers health and life, motor, mortgage, and marine insurance. We have 5 branches located in Antigua. Our main branch is in St. John's. We have a branch located in New Winthrop, a branch located in Freetown, a branch in Old Road, and our final branch is in English Harbour. And throughout those branches, we accommodate 2,000 staff. So today, well, this evening, we'll be focusing on network security, physical security, desktop security, mobile security, and server security. Whereas I'll be doing the threats, and my colleague, he will be doing the solution to those threats. To begin, we're going to do a vulnerability assessment, just in case you don't know what that is. It's the systematic study of the assets that are valuable to the company that are exposed to threats. Under that, we do an asset identification, which are basically the assets that needs to be protected, such as the company computers. The threat identification, which are basically the threat agents we use, such as a virus. The risk assessment, which is the damage that can be resulted from those threats, which is basically data loss, for example. And the risk mitigation, which is the solution. So we begin with the asset identification. These are important assets we have to protect: our financial records, customers' information, data logs, staff files, and all stuff. These are our physical assets: compute equipment, the main servers, routers, printers, mobile devices, etc. The threat identification, these are basically the threat we found most dangerous to a company. Power outages, which is basically short or long-term loss of power, either by the power station or probably an overload breaker. Loss of data due to natural disaster, such as a hurricane, earthquake, etc. Ordinary door locks into sensitive areas, such as the server room. And ordinary door locks are the door locks we see every day, especially in our homes, which are not really much secure. Virus. Mobile devices being misplaced, just in case an employee take home a mobile device and it could be accidentally misplaced and end up in the threat agent's hand. A fire. A hacked user account, which can result in an employee employee shoulder stiffing another employee to gain the credentials for their account. And firewall breaches due to denial of service or spam. So from the threats I just mentioned, these are the risk assessment, the damage that can result from these threats. Data corruption, which can happen from a virus, data being destroyed from a hurricane or any other natural disaster. With their ordinary door locks, unauthorized access to equipment and sensitive files and equipment are being tampered with. Loss of data by, for example, fire and hardware failure. So these are security policies to prevent loss of data. Employees should save important data to their network drive. Sensitive data should be put out of sight when customers are present. To prevent a virus, employees should not insert peripheral device into any equipment. No employee should ever use their work machine to do recreational activity, such as going on Facebook, using their personal emails, can get a spam, maybe. To protect our data from getting into the threat agent's hand, computer systems that are no longer needed should be sanitized before giving to line staff or dumping, and printed and written documents should be shredded with a crosscut shredder that are no longer needed. Also, no computer should be left logging unattended. Any terminated employee account and access should be disabled immediately. And to prevent threat agents from hacking our devices, never use default configuration from third-party vendors. To prevent data loss, all IT equipment should be on UPS. No employee should encourage tailgating onto the compound. And to prevent our devices from getting a virus, all equipment should have the latest updates. And I'll turn over to my colleague. He will be doing the solution to these threats. Thank you.
Good evening. As my colleague was briefing you about the possible threats that can or may occur within the company, I am now going to go through the solutions that we find best to prevent these threats from happening. For our power outage solution at our headquarters, the APC-MG EPS is an enterprise UPS that will be providing clean and efficient power throughout the company. It will prevent from power surges, brownouts, or even low voltages. The coal and diesel generator that will provide power to the building until the main power line has been restored. And for our small branches, we use the APC-MG 3500, and that would only be connected to our IT equipment and selective light fixtures. And the Polar 125 series would be the backup power. For our data solution, we chose a network access storage with the capability of backing up to the cloud. Barracuda 1090 will be homed at our headquarters. It will also be connected to the branches and backed up via network drive. The Barracuda 1090 has 24 hot swappable and lockable hard drive trays. It is capable of storing up to 112 terabits of storage. We will be using a 10 gigabit fiber port for communication. It also has the ability to back up from unlimited backup agents, where we get backed up from Windows XP server all the way to Windows 2012 server. Also can back up from any operating system such as Windows, as we all know, Apple's ISO, and even Linux. For our server security, we'll be placing our servers in identical rack armor, and will be only accessed via an access card. We'll also be remotely access the armor to give any persons access to the service and to troubleshoot it. And it will also have the capability of video logging, so we can take video captures of the persons who are doing the troubleshooting, and that can help us in the event the person that's doing the troubleshooting, we can know what they're doing wrong, so we know how to go about and fix it. TrendMicro would be our antivirus solution. TrendMicro will be installed on our servers and our client's machine. TrendMicro will also be preventing us from the most advanced attack, zero-day attack, and internet threats using sandboxing to prevent malware. AirWatch. This will be our mobile device solution. In the event that our mobile device has been stolen or misplaced, AirWatch can check the location of the device as long as it's powered on, and it can also wipe the device and even crash the device, so even if the person does a factory restore to the device, it would not work. AirWatch also has the capability to manage applications that we use on our devices, and it also has the capability to push applications to those devices. AirWatch can also be installed on any operating system on those devices as well. KSI 1700 is a biometric keyboard that we'll be using for our desktop security. It also has spill resistant and only can be wiped with certified geomedical wipes. Also, for more desktop security, we would be implementing a password at our BIOS, and in the BIOS, we will disable all unused USB ports as well. And for more security, in the event that the USB keyboard be disconnected from that port, we'll have security measures in place at the domain, so no drivers can be installed without authentication of an IT administrator. The FortiGate 5000 series. This would be a blade system firewall that we'll be using. Each blade will be configured separately for communication to our branch office, and it's hot swappable. It also can be hot swappable, so in case one of the blades has failed, you can take out the blade and reconfigure it and plug it back in without turning off the firewall. The firewall has a throughput of 40 gigabits per second. It has a maximum registered of 20,000 clients, and you'll be using a 10 gigabit small form factor port for communication. Our small branches would be using the FortiGate 200 series, and our firewalls would have IP detection system and intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system built into them, and they will also update to prevent the latest viruses that will come up, and also from network vulnerabilities and malicious websites. For fire solution, we chose the fire suppression because it is filled with CO2, better known as carbon dioxide. We chose this because if the carbon dioxide is being depleted from the extinguisher, it will leave no residue for us to clean up after, and it's safe for our servers. Fire suppression also has SH fire detection software built in, and it will be integrated in our circuits, and it has heat detection sensor, so it will notify us in the event that one of our circuits is being overloaded. And for small branches, they will be using normal fire extinguishers graded for IT equipment. For our video surveillance, ACT INR 440 standalone NPR, which is a network video recorder, will be homed at our corporate office, our headquarters. It will hold up to 200 maximum cameras, and each camera would be placed at our entrances, exits, network closets, and data center. The NPR has 12 hard drive bays using grade level 6 for storage and performance, and it has access control which we'll be using to gain access into areas using access card. The I-92 IP camera is the camera we'll be using that will correspond with the network video recorder. It's a speed dome camera. Also, it has 12 megapixel infrared sensor with a distance of 150 meters. And it's superior to low light, because in case one of the light bulbs is being blown, the infrared sensor can produce enough light within 150 meters so the lens can capture perfect video within that meters. It'll be using video motion detection feature that will correspond to the network video recorder for the access control. It has PoE RJ45. PoE means power over Ethernet. It doesn't need any extended power source to function. It has a rotation of 360 to 180 degrees. It's also an indoor and outdoor camera, and it can use digital noise reduction feature as well. Since Stadico Insurance is a newly developed company, our physical network security is a means of priority to our 5 branches. We purchase UPS and generators for our branches in the case of power outage, and we added a backup server for our company files. We placed our servers in cages for security. We implemented mobile device management software for our device in the event they got stolen. We added a biometric keyboard for desktop security, and we had a firewall to our network for outside attacks. We used Trend Micro Endpoint for antivirus solution. We implemented file suppression systems for branches, and for video surveillance, we have cameras and a network recorder server in place. Thank you for listening, and is there any questions?
There's a question back there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lester. Based upon what I've seen, the students, very good presentation. Thank you. But what has been used all over by most IT professionals, just like to ask a question. How you will decide the size of your generator that you'll recommend to the client, the size of the UPS, you mentioned that you have cages, and you said you wouldn't be using the regular outdoor locks. Well, I've seen the cages, and they have a regular lock. I have a co-worker, he walk up to the lock, and in 5 minutes he's inside. So I'd like to know, what are you going to use as your lock? Yes, it's a nice cage. How you'll decide the size of the UPS, and how you'll decide the size of your generators. There's one more thing I wanted to ask about your antivirus software and how you're going to deploy it.
Okay, for your first question, which was the rack armor.
Try that.
Yeah, here we go. First of all, we'll be using our access card to get into the server, not by the lock. The lock is basically as an emergency backup in the case that access card has failed to gain access to the lock, to the cage.
Your access card, where you have the, how your access card system is protected. Most access card systems now, they plug into a UPS that somebody can walk off the road and plug it. I'm telling you that because where I work, the same thing happens. Somebody plug out the UPS that backs up the access card system to charge their phone.
Well, first of all, they will need to have access to our UPSs.
Okay, so that should have been noted in your location because that would be inside your server rack. Inside your server cage, sorry.
Noted.
Okay. And how you size your UPS? Size your UPS and your generators.
First of all, the size of the UPS is, we've checked the power output of the UPS and it's pretty decent to push our
I stood up when you said pretty decent. How you decide the size of a UPS? There's a simple formula to decide the size of a UPS.
No, we haven't gone through that formula.
Okay. All right.
What was your other question?
So share it with him.
And the generator.
Could you share it with him, sir?
Oh, well, I guess that answer will cover both generator and UPS.
Sir.
You can share your
Generator and your UPS.
You can share that information with us.
Can I share with us?
I mean, normally what you do is you have to kind of
All your loads? Yes.
all your loads. Hold on.
Sorry.
In most cases for UPSs and generators, you would have to know what is the load of the equipment that you need to protect. I mean, how much, normally kVA, how much it would be. So sometimes you may end up having a 10 kVA UPS in your data center, and you may have a 50 kVA for all of your end devices. Like, for example, here at ABIIT, ABIIT has two UPSs. They have a 50 kVA for the ground floor and a 30 kVA for the top floor. And now for your generator, it will have to be a total load, both UPS and non-UPS load. So that if power goes off, that all the air conditioning, all your lights, and all the essential services keep on working. But sir, he was, I told them that they were supposed to do it, right?
I better ask another question for clarity.
Yes.
How long you want the UPS to last when the power goes up? So you have 30,000 watts to protect. How long you want that 30,000 watts for? Okay, we're in the hospital theater. Doctors need to work. They need to see everything. They need lights in there. But the longest surgery is 45 minutes. You can't buy a UPS that's going to do 30 minutes. That's your mother going to die. So the backup generator cannot be counted on. When you have a UPS, you never count on the backup generator.
Okay, thank you.
Because the backup generator will never come on. So the UPS should provide you power for that time that is specified. If you say 5 minutes, UPS must provide the power for 5 minutes. So the load plus the time will decide. If you go on to any of the sites that sell UPS, they'll ask you what's your load and what's your time.
Yes.
So you'll use that.
One question. That part he's talking about, that's not supposed to be done by some other some kind of electrical engineer to actually sum up all of that's on the IT.
Well, they have to work with
you have to work with
IT people. Yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, because UPS for the IT assets.
Yeah.
Right? But hospitals are different things. I mean,
kind of the IT have a part to play. Kind of the IT have a part to play, but usually electrical engineer usually helps sums up all that load.
That is not true. I mean, the electrical engineer, when they draw the drawings and but normally, in a company of this size, right? Normally in a company of this size, the IT people, because, yeah, but hospitals are different things.
Hello? What kind of clientele do you guys have? Do you provide services abroad as well as locally? Just locally? I mean, personally, that's not a security and a lot of funding and anything. I smell some money laundering somewhere. I know it's scary.
Eugene, one question.
I'm going to sum it up and make it.
One for 10 parts.
Let's talk about antivirals, okay? So, is the antivirus an endpoint antivirus, or is just installing antivirus on each computer? Is it an endpoint antivirus?
It will be installed on each computer. It's because we need to protect each machine.
So, how many computers do you have in this organization? If I should ask?
2,000.
2,000. So, you're going to install 2,000 antivirus.
It's on the network, so if we need to install it, yes, we will install it on each PC that we need.
I was thinking the best solution is to have, because you know each computer is going to do its own update and so on and so forth, and it's not the best way to go. The best way is to have endpoint that will roll over the update to the client, because you have too much client to be going around updating antivirus. Okay, let's move to you talk about cloud backing up. Did you mention about cloud backup?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What size of data are you going to back up? What bandwidth do you have, and how secure are you that your backup will get to the cloud server?
It is pretty much secure. And we're certain when you guys talk about serving it will be encrypted. And Eugene, any other questions?
So you tell me that you are guaranteed that your...
Yes, I'm 100% sure all my equipment are chosen.
What am I going to back up?
What's exactly am I going to happen?
No. What time are you going to do the backup?
After hours, starting from 10 o'clock in the night, 10 p.m.
And you will be there to make sure that all the data. No, you need to answer the question. These questions are relevant. Okay? Don't just play with it. It's very.
Okay. About the card entry to this saying that you give me right to somewhere and you have your card in the door. I can steal your card and enter to this room. And would I be straight into this room, or do I have a next form of security to bring?
Oh, actually, yes, you do. The video camera, which has video motion detection.
Okay, about that now. Now, this camera is just going to pick me up, right?
Yeah, but you're not.
Picture me as a terrorist, right? No, I can. Here is this camera. Here is this camera picking me up. I don't have a problem if this camera picking me up. Only thing you're gonna do is just research this camera to say, well, okay, I was there. Yeah, okay. I can just steal your card and just smile with the camera, break down your whole system. See, so I'm saying now that your card system should be more secure. You know, maybe you should have a finger. Scanning, you know, maybe detect your eye or whatever.
That's a solution we can look into, but we're sticking with our access.
Right. Okay, please.
You know, concerning the cards, do you know that when you use, I have one in my pocket right now. Do you know that anytime you go through a magnetic device, that card stops to work?
Yeah, I'm aware.
So what are you going to do to prevent that? I mean, having so much users on your environment, and today's world, in your vehicle, you have speakers all around you. Wherever you go, there is some kind of magnetic device. What are you going to do to secure those cards for your users? Talking about big security.
First of all, you cannot really secure those cards.
Okay.
So, please, not too serious question.
You cannot secure it. That's BS right there.
Actually, you can just buy some frequencies.
You can buy rubber projectors.
You can put your cards into a frequency to prevent interference. But it's not that purpose. It's not about the cards to prevent interference.
Quiet, please. Quiet. That people want to hear.
No, I was saying you can purchase the small frequencies to put the cards into that prevents the yes, the card can get from the frequency.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support.
We should have more security presentation.
I just want to help you with the cards so you don't feel too bad. I work with the security cards, the swipe cards, and I work next to the MRI. I've never get it right yet because it's not done in just haphazard way. It's done properly. So I know for sure the magnetic stuff for your speakers and so on, you can rest on a speaker, it won't damage a properly built card. You can try it. You can try it. And the MRI is much more powerful than your speaker.
You have a question? Go ahead, get up.
Just not supposed to actually shut down most of the questions that we asked to actually value. Right? As the card holders, the card holders got stolen
From tomorrow.
and say like you got into the building and you be a terrorist or whatever. And still, once it even once they bring the encryption system, I don't see him actually getting access to the data. And the data is a main priority of the business. Once that's protected, I don't see whether you get into it. If you see the card holder, you get into it either. So your main purpose will be defeated most likely from what I'm seeing. Because encryption is the last means of security. And from the can't break that, I don't see the
No, you have always been hold on, guys. Hold on. There's another side to that, Mario. You see, securing data doesn't mean somebody getting to it. It also means destroying it. Right? So, for example, maybe we don't think of security when they don't think of fire when they think of security. I mean, but the fire does the same destructive act as water, as a virus, or any type of malware. It destroys it.
But they cover all the part already.
Pardon me?
They cover the fire part, they cover the
point you were making, you said that if somebody had the card and they got access, there was no threat. I'm saying that is not true. Because I can go in, I can steal equipment, I can destroy it, I can throw water into it, and the same thing has happened. Because access is based on what you have, which is the card. So sometimes we do two-factor authentication. What you have and what you know. So for example, you swipe your card, listen up. I'm not trying to be controversial, I'm just trying to make everything open. Right? So don't think I'm trying to somehow be controversial. So based on what you have would be the card, and what you know would be, like when you go to the bank to withdraw money from ATM. You have two things, right? You have your card and you have your PIN. What people have done to make it more secure now is to add biometric, or have a smart card, so it stores biometric information on it, right? So then you go there, have some type of device, they can read some biometric data from you, whether it's your finger or whatever it is, right? But physical access to IT resources is a real and present threat. Because if I think I go to the hospital and I destroy all the equipment that's providing life support for people. You understand? It's the same thing. It doesn't matter how it happened. It's just to prevent it from happening.
But I was talking based off insurance.
So you don't always have to get access, direct access to the data. I mean, just destroy the data, destroy the systems is the real threat. Yes.
Emphasis on security for the wrapping in itself, but what about entrance into the server? Not much is talked about that.
Actually, it was mentioned. Our camera which have access to control ads. See, the features built in, you don't know about it. Now you're learning about it. So here,
one at a time. What do you guys
as I was saying,
hold on, one at a time. One at a time.
So what is your locking mechanism for security into the server?
Well, first of all, the camera has the video motion detection system, which enables the user. It's basically as what you said, two-phase security stuff. So when you go with the card and the picture doesn't match, it would not open. Yes.
But security is something you can layer. So I don't know the layer security would be at the physical door and still lock at the server rack too as well.
So what about if the camera don't
what he's saying is like access control into the server.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. What he's saying, don't let people get inside. All right, good stuff. All right, good presentation. All right, so this brings us to the end of our presentation tonight. Before we go, a few things. Can all the presenters go on the stage?
Take off the
Come on. It's not really a photo op, it's just for y'all to be recognized of having worked hard. And a round of applause for the presentation. It's 8 o'clock, it's finally over, right? You don't have to worry about presenting now. You only have to worry about now is finishing your paper. This is only the presentation. The real work is in the paper that they will have to complete. Now, in terms of the house rules, before we go and get food for everyone, please let our guests and presenters, get to your guests and make sure they're served first. Right? So no one in a rush, because every year, you know, our guests come and they have to stand in line and jostle people, because we're really happy that you took the time out to come and see the presentations, and we just want to make sure that we say thank you for coming, and we also going to give you, we have some treats back there, right? Not dinner, but enough to fill you for the 3 hours that you have spent with us, and we really appreciate it. And you're welcome next year again. Every year there's a new batch, and Eugene is always here. Yeah, he's the fared one. He's also a graduate, also he went through this, right? Can all the former graduates, can you please stand? Some of the people. It's all the people who have been here. I've all gone through this. So again, thank you so much, and let's go enjoy our little food. All right, thanks a lot.